Hey everyone, it's great to see all of you today. I'm really excited that we are going to be spending the entire day talking about trust because, as you've heard me say many times before, and you'll hear more times today, everything of value is built on trust. We've been talking about the fundamentals of high-performing teams. You know that you can't get to resolving conflict, a level of commitment, holding each other accountable, and getting those results that you really want, unless there is a strong foundation of trust. That is why we are going to spend the entire day together talking about it. And so I also recognize that when the topic of trust gets brought up, sometimes people are wondering are we going to do a trust fall? And since we are virtual, that may get even trickier. So here it is. Here's your trust fall for the day. Yes. Okay. As you can probably tell from that, one of the key components around trust is communication and clear, concise communication, which we will get to today. But trust, not money, is the currency of business and life. It is that important. And as you are all business leaders in here, in order to get the results that you are seeking, we have to recognize that trust is what is going to get you to next level results. So let's talk about what we're going to do today. As you know, we're going to spend the whole day together. I promise we're going to take good breaks. You're going to have a lunch break in there too, but we're really going to be breaking down the 8 pillars of trust, which I've kind of been teasing you about in our previous sessions. You know from our work together that this is an open mic. Ask the questions, post in the chats, unmute yourself. We really want to have some rich dialogue as we are going through and learning together the content around the pillars of trust. And please know that specifically, I've been touting the brilliance of David Horsager and the group at the Trust Edge, because their information and content is really rich in both research and practical application. So I have to share with you that there are some biases that have been used to kind of influence not only the information and the content, but how we deliver it. So I just want to address this. The 8-pillar framework that you are going to be learning today, and all of the research that we share through the Trust Outlook, is deeply rooted in research, and it is constantly updated, and it's global in nature, right? So it's very extensive, and that is interesting, right? The stats are always those key things that can be of interest, but we also need to take it to make it useful. So there's practical application, right? This information is relevant. I'm going to be asking you, how does this apply to your teams, to you as a leader? And I'm going to be providing you really simple, usable, practical action steps that you can take and put into practice immediately when you get back to the office. And in order to be able to do that, for you to be able to take something from interesting to useful to practice it, we're going to be doing lots of different exercises in different ways. So I'll be asking you to pair up with your accountability partner. We'll break out in small groups. We'll do big group dialogue. But also I want you to use that workbook. And your workbook was sent to you on purpose because that pen to paper helps activate that reticular activator. And just you writing down the little notes and the things that come to mind throughout the day in this training gives you a 33% edge, right? Even if you never look at the content again, you writing down with your hand, with a pen, helps you retain 33% more information. So it's really a useful tool that I want to encourage all of you to use today. So let's get started. When you think about trust, what's a word that comes to mind? So just unmute yourselves here for a moment and let's hear some of those words, like yes, Okay, and some of you are putting in chat too, and that's fine. So belief, integrity, faith, character, yes, all of that, right? Trust, a lot of words come to mind. And so when we look at trust, we want to look at it from several different angles, like trust. This requires trust, right? I don't know if you'd want to be the last person there. You definitely have to have trust in this situation. I don't even think you could get me that high up. What about this situation? How trusting are you going to be if you're the person that one of the passengers on this flight? I don't know. And even pets have a perspective on trust, right? So when we think about trust, it represents a lot of different things for us. And when I think of trust, I think about one of my first job experiences. I was in college. I had just finished my freshman year. I needed a summer job. And I don't know if you remember this or not on college campus, but there used to be a company, and I think there still is, a company that goes on campus saying, hey, we've got a summer job for you selling books door to door. And I was going to school in Fargo, North Dakota. And they said, hey, you're not going to sell books at home. We're going to take you to a different place. So I was in, right? So the entire summer was a case for trust, because the company didn't trust us as college students to actually stay on task and stay focused. So they removed us from our home and sent us to a faraway place, which for me was Orlando, Florida. They sent us to a week of training in some remote area in Tennessee. And we spent that entire week learning about how to quickly build rapport and have confidence in our contact to get people to let us into their homes so that we could potentially sell them solutions that would help them in educational processes, either with their children or for their teenagers. And we had cookbooks, we had all these different kinds of things, right? So we spent a week learning about how to get people to trust us. And then they shipped us down to Orlando, Florida. And the very first exercise was to go door to door and ask people if we could live with them for the summer. We had to go find our own housing. So if you think about the trust that was needed, who in their right mind would let a perfect stranger knock on their door and say, hey, can I come and live with you for the summer? And by the way, can I bring a friend too? But Bob and Alice Wells did. They let me have a place, and my friend Patty, a place to live for the entire summer. And I'll continue to share this story with you throughout the day, because every single day, every single moment was a case for trust. So let's get grounded in what trust really is, because this is trust, by this definition, is a confident belief in a person, product, or organization. So at any given moment, right, we want to have a belief, a confident belief that either a person, a product, or an organization is going to do what is right in any given moment, that they're going to deliver on what is promised, and that they're going to be consistent. They're going to be the same way every single time, no matter what the circumstances. So sometimes when we think like what the opposite of trust, we may think it's distrust, but it's actually suspicion. And that is a huge cost to us. So when we think about the trust, the trust edge is really that competitive advantage that is gained when others confidently believe in you. Because when we create this confident belief in a team, in an organization, or a product, you gain this incredible advantage. And that advantage is what we call the trust edge. So just take a moment here, because we're going to spend the whole day together. I know you all know each other, but in just 10 seconds, what's your name, your role, and what's your biggest hope that you want to get out of today's session? Okay, I'm going to give you 30 seconds because it's too hard to do that in 10 seconds. So 30 seconds. On your mark, I'm going to put you in small groups. On your mark, get set, go. Okay, so Great. The biggest hope, put it in your chat, in the chat, so I can make sure when we get toward the end of the day today, I want to be able to scroll through and see what your biggest hope is and make sure that we covered it together. Okay. So with that, let's get into building a case for trust. And when we're talking about trust, here's a video from David Horsager that's going to give a little bit more context. Okay, so David had great information in there, right? So what the research has shown over the years consistently is that as trust increases, output, morale, retention, productivity, innovation, loyalty all go up. And at the same time, cost, problems, suspicion, attrition, time to market, and stress all decrease, right? These are all positives. And that's really important because you start to get a sense here for what the impact really can be when you have a higher level of trust. And in any given moment, right, we are either making a deposit in the trust bank or we're making a withdrawal. So we want to be making more deposits as leaders and have influence in that so that we can increase the productivity and the outcomes and remove some of the stress and the barriers that might be happening here. That is why it is so important that we spend the time to really understand the ways in which we are both contributing to elevating a level of trust and where we might be making a withdrawal in that. So even if we just increase a little bit, all of these things are impacted, right? It doesn't have to be a massive overhaul, but it does have to be consistent. So the reason why we want to make sure that we are focused on trust is because it will always be your biggest expense. When you think about, like, why do people leave companies, right? They typically leave their managers. There's something there that they just don't feel like that person has their best interest at heart, that they're doing what they're saying they're going to be. There can be lots of reasons, but at the end of the day, most people are leaving companies because they either don't believe in the mission or because of their manager. And that is a big cost in and of itself right there for you as a company. When you look in the packet that I sent you, this is all the research that the Trust Edge has done. And it shows a wide landscape of trust across all divisions, across the world. And there are some similarities that have occurred. And when you think about why people actually want to work for an organization, it's the same as what they leave for, right? They want to work for an organization because they actually trust the leadership. They leave because they're suspicious of the leadership. So when you think about this statistic, half of all boomers would work longer hours, be a better team player, and be more loyal if they trusted their senior leadership more. That's huge, but it's not just limited to boomers. Actually, the research shows that regardless of the generation, within a 1% difference, either plus or minus, every generation would say the same thing. It all comes down to the trusted leadership. And it's not just leadership, right? People invest, 48% of all Americans have invested $1,000 or more based purely on trust. So when you think about that for a moment, have you? I'm just curious, like, put in the chat or show me, just give me a hand raise here. Can you think of a purchase of $1,000 or more that you have made just because you felt like you could trust the person? Maybe you bought a car in a short period of time because you trusted the salesperson. Now, this statistic is really mind-blowing because more than 13 million Americans say that they have invested more than $100,000 based purely on trust. Now, is there anyone here that can raise their hand and say that they've invested over $100,000 because of trust? Wow. Okay, one of you. That in and of itself is impressive. Now, think about this for a moment. 92% of people would trust their senior leaders more if they were more transparent about their mistakes. All of you here are people leaders. How often, just think for a moment, how often are you sharing when you've made a mistake? How often do you go back and apologize when you realize maybe you were wrong? And instead of thinking about whether or not you want to share that information, think about what could be gained, right? Like there's a little sidestep of ego on this when you can actually think about what can be gained by admitting your mistakes. And 9 out of 10 Americans would not refer the products or services to an organization that they don't trust. So again, thinking about what actually could have the greatest impact. Okay, I just screwed up here. But anyway, let me come back to it. You are in the service business, right? So think about this. People won't refer you. Think how important referral is to your company, because I know it is. We've talked about it before, but this statistic is saying that people won't refer you if they don't believe in you, if they don't trust that what you're going to do, what you say you're going to do, that you're going to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. And that can really be detrimental to the company, especially in a service-based company, but really any company at all. So what does destroy trust? Just shout out. Okay. Yep. Lying for sure. Yep. Lying for sure destroys trust. What about when you say things behind people's backs, right? You're not confronting it directly to them. You're going around them. That will destroy trust. Absolutely. Really, at the end of the day, what everybody is asking about you, it's not whether they like you, but it's actually whether or not they can trust you. And I can share that I was a sales leader, and I actually was unaware of the fact that I had broken trust. And this was a candidate, a person who we were interviewing. There was a group of us of whether or not they were going to be the right fit to come on our team and be part of our sales organization. And in the interview process, I admittedly did not believe that this person was able to back up what they were saying around their experience. So I had asked some extra questions on that. And in the end, didn't feel like they were the right candidate. And, you know, I wasn't the only one making the decision, but I was kind of driving the deeper questions and thought nothing of it, and got back to them and said, we're, you know, moving in a different direction. But about a month later, my boss came to me and said that the president of the company had received a letter from this candidate who described the experience that they had during the interview process as, you know, very disrespectfful, and singled me out, saying that I was not a fit leader, that, you know, she couldn't believe that, you know, the organization would want a leader like me working for them. And it really took me by surprise, because I honestly hadn't thought about the conversation after it, you know, we had kind of decided not to move forward with the person. But I really had to stop and take a look back at what I had done, because clearly this person had an experience with me that I wouldn't want anybody to have. And it was really kind of a blow. And it made me think of the Maya Angelou quote, right? Is people don't remember what you say or what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And I clearly made this person feel less than ideal. And for some reason, there was an opportunity in my team meeting to share that story, and just put forward that, I'd been called out on this and that I was working on doing better. So in a moment when I had broken trust with a person, the feedback that I had gotten from my team about appreciating that I'd share a story like that and be vulnerable in that way, I was able to use that example to build more trust with my team. So when you're thinking about that, can your team trust you? Where might there be an area that you could do better yourself? And think about, what is a lack of trust actually costing you? So I'm going to break you out into small groups for a moment. Maybe this triggers a story that comes to mind for you, but I'd like you to work in your small groups, and we're just going to do this for 3 minutes and just make a list of what is a lack of trust costing the company right now for your team and for the organization. Okay, go. Okay, welcome back. So let's just talk for a minute about some of the things that came up in what is a lack of trust costing R46? Tell me. Okay, great. So we're going to get into the 8 pillars that drive results, because this is what we're going to work on the rest of the day today. So I just want to give you a quick snapshot of what the pillars are, what they represent, and then we're going to take a break after this, and then we're going to start digging into each one of them. So the first pillar of trust is clarity. And clarity is really important because it has to do with whether or not we are clear and concise. And clearly, I just wasn't in this moment. So people trust the clear and they mistrust the ambiguous. So just think about, where are you giving clear instruction? Where are you being ambiguous? Where might you be able to shore that up? And we'll talk about that more in greater detail. The second pillar is compassion. People put faith in those who care beyond themselves. Hey, look, your team wants to know that you care about them, that you're putting your best efforts forward for them and for the organization and for your clients over your own personal interests. The third pillar is character. People notice those who do what is right over what is easy. Competency is the next pillar. That's people have confidence in those who stay fresh, they stay relevant, and they stay capable. That's why your CEO has invested in this training for you, right? So that you can stay relevant and go and take these new tools and put them to use. Commitment. People believe in those who stand through adversity. They don't run and hide. They stand in the storm and work through it together. Connection. People want to follow, buy from, and be around those who connect and collaborate. Contribution. People immediately respond to results. You know that you're in a results-driven company, and people respond to the ability to get results. And that 8th pillar is consistency. People love to see the little things done consistently. They want to know that you're reliable, right? That if they've seen you behave a certain way, that there's a good chance that you're going to behave the same way the next time and the next time. So that's just a quick overview of the 8 pillars of trust. We are going to dive deeper into each one of these. You are now going to get a 15-minute break. So everybody come back at 1/2 past the hour.